Okay, hello. My name is Tim Fox. I'm originally from the Blood Reserve. My family is from the Gatebook Aches clan, which in Blackfoot it means the Many Children's Clan. So I just started at the Calgary Foundation. This is my third week as a member of the team there. So I struggled a little bit to talk about what it is the Calgary Foundation plans to do, because I guess that's kind of my role. I'm going to help drive this work. But before I became a member of the team, I was also part of the Education and Lifelong Learning Granting Committee with the Foundation. So about a year ago, the Foundation convened a circle of advisors, Indigenous advisors, to talk about ways that they can begin to mobilize the work of reconciliation at a foundation level. So that group convened and gave some advice to the CEO and the rest of the leadership team at the foundation. And fast forward a year later, I was hired and I was welcomed to be a part of this team. So I'm on this steep learning curve, and I guess I'm going to have more to report as the days go on. But in my short time there, I have learned a little bit about the Calgary Foundation and kind of made some notes here. So our work is grounded in knowledge, focused through experience, inspired by relationships, and pulled forward by a strong vision. At the Foundation, we don't believe that we're at a crossroads or a fork in the road. We believe that we're on a focused learning journey, buoyed by the confidence our donors put in us, the encouraging and uplifting work of our grantees, and a process of making connections that deepens our understanding of our community. So my focus in this first year with the Foundation is to really provide the context behind our shared history. I think if we're talking about reconciliation, and if I'm trying to shift the culture of places like the Foundation, I really want to focus on that legacy education. I'm coming from the Boys and Girls Clubs of Calgary, where I worked with Christy. I was there for 5 years, and I like to think that I was pretty successful in creating a cultural shift there based on the legacy education and training and awareness that we provided at the agency, and continues to happen at the Boys and Girls Club. So that's kind of what I'm bringing into my new role. So when I thought about today's event, I thought I wanted to revisit the context of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And so I did some reading, and I pulled up the principles of reconciliation that were collected after that report was made, after that experience was facilitated by the commissioners. And I just wanted to remind everyone of these principles, because that's where I'm going to really start in this next year. That's kind of my stepping stone in this work. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada believes that in order for Canada to flourish in the 21st century, reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canada must be based on the following principles. The United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People is the framework for reconciliation at all levels and across all sectors of Canadian society. First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, as the original peoples of this country and as self-determining peoples, have treaty, constitutional, and human rights that must be recognized and respected. Reconciliation is a process of healing of relationships that requires public truth-sharing, apology, and commemoration that acknowledge and redress past harms. Reconciliation requires constructive action on addressing the ongoing legacies of colonialism that have had destructive impacts on Indigenous people's education, cultures and language, health, child welfare, the administration of justice, the economic opportunities, and prosperity. Reconciliation must create a more equitable and inclusive society by closing the gaps in social, health, and economic outcomes that exist between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians. All Canadians as treaty people share responsibility for establishing and maintaining mutually respectful relationships. Perspectives and understanding of Indigenous elders and traditional knowledge keepers of the ethics, concepts, and practices of reconciliation are vital to long-term reconciliation. Supporting Indigenous peoples' cultural revitalization and integrating Indigenous knowledge systems, oral histories, laws, protocols, and connections to the land and to the reconciliation process are essential. Reconciliation requires political will, joint leadership, trust building, accountability, and transparency, as well as a substantial investment of resources. Reconciliation requires sustained public education and dialogue, including youth engagement about the history and legacy of residential schools, treaties and Indigenous rights, as well as the historical and contemporary contributions of Indigenous people to Canadian society. So I just wanted to touch on those principles because I think they provide a good foundation for this kind of work, and they provide the context and a good direction on the way I want to influence the culture at the Calgary Foundation. So I have a series of learning journeys set up for my team at the Calgary Foundation. And I also wanted to mention something that's happening right now, kind of a real-time event. So I was on my social media page yesterday and over the past couple of days. And I'm from the Blood Reserve, so it's close to the community of Lethbridge. And in Lethbridge, there's some controversy happening right now around grad parties. So last week there was a grad party that wasn't organized by the school district. It was organized by students graduating, but the theme was around cowboys and Indians. So what ended up happening was, come Monday morning, the conversation continued about this grad party. It impacted some Indigenous students who were attending this particular high school who went home and just weren't feeling really great about themselves. And so this conversation has been going on, and I've noticed it on my social media. Maybe you've noticed it on your social media. CTV has done a really good job at covering the incidences leading up to it. So I kind of thought about this last night and came up with this response to that situation. And I'm glad that here we have students from Real Institute. We have my fellow peers in the community, my friends, some elders. We have a wide spectrum of people in this room. So it's really good to see, and it's encouraging. So this was kind of my response to what's happening with that particular event. This issue couldn't be more valid than it is today. And this year, the entire country focuses on 150 years of Confederation. In a brief glance at some of the comments in the attached article, it was a CTV article covering this issue. It has become clear that there is much work to be done in terms of a truth-telling movement. If I could tell the young people speaking out against this injustice anything, I would thank them for their courage. It isn't easy to find your voice amidst the harsh ridicule and judgment of the ill-informed. I would also invite the non-Indigenous students as part of the story to engage in a meaningful dialogue on why what seems to be innocently themed party further perpetuates a narrative of oppression and constant ridicule experienced by the Indigenous community, my community. I would also encourage my peers, older adult allies and accomplices, not to lose focus or be driven to immediate reaction of defense, but rather, let's use this situation as a further means to support the ongoing education of our shared history as a country, the entire history of the last 150 years. Let's also raise up the young leaders finding their voices, speaking up and speaking out. Continue to do so. Be proud of who you are as Indigenous people. It isn't only to raise awareness, but it's actually to correct the damage our shared history has caused in the first place. Continue to find your voice, be proud, and make your mark as we enter the next 150 years. Thanks.